people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr Boyce TV. Here we are.
Election where there's a lot of controversy surrounding this election, who people are going to vote for. And before I even begin the conversation, I want to make sure you guys know that we're not here to tell you who to vote for or what to do. At least I'm not here to do that. But we want you to be informed. We want you to think things through. And so to my special guest today is Miss Tanya Washington. Tanya is a law professor, and I didn't write down the, give me the institution, Tanya. I'm so sorry.
Georgia State.
At Georgia State,
College
there we go.
In Atlanta.
And a full professor, correct?
Yeah.
A full professor of law at Georgia State University. Now, let me just let you guys know, I am marrying a woman who is a full professor. And when she became a full professor, we knew that was a very big deal. Most professors do not become full professors, and most professors don't get to teach at Georgia State. So you're in the presence of a really smart Black woman who has some really great things to say. And so whether you agree or disagree, I hope that you'll hear her out. So first of all, I'd like to say to Miss Washington, how you doing today, sister?
I'm great.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Yes, well, the honor is all mine. And so why don't we just kind of start from the beginning? You've been on this journey to fight gentrification, among other things, in your community. Can you kind of brief us on some of the issues that you've been dealing with in the Atlanta area? Yes.
So Atlanta is one of I think it's the 4th fastest gentrifying city in the United States. It is the most unequal city, according to a Bloomberg study, for the 2nd or 3rd year in a row. We know that we are recognized as being the Black Mecca, but there's some real inequality and some real racial disparities and socioeconomic disparities that the city is marked by. And I teach, one of the classes that I teach is Race and the Law. I never anticipated experiencing what I have been experiencing, but I'm grateful for the knowledge that I was immersed in, because it gave me tools and a vehicle for addressing it, along with community activism, which is always a key ingredient to any effective resistance.
Okay, and you've really been involved in some activism. I remember being pretty surprised with the kind of back and forth that you were having with the Atlanta mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms. That's it, right? Is that right? Okay, I'll make sure, because I live in Chicago. And what really got me was that you two were on these diametrically opposed sides of certain issues, particularly in gentrification. And your sorority sisters, and you're both attorneys, and she went to Georgia State Law School, correct? Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, I actually think it's interesting because it shows that diversity that we don't often see. A lot of people think all Black women think alike, all Black men, we're all going to identify with 2 chains or whatever, and so I kind of like that. And, and so I'd be curious, maybe you can brief the audience on some of that and sort of, where that's gone to this point.
I have a lot of respect for Mayor Bottoms. I disagree with the decision that she is standing by, which is to take my home and the homes of my neighbors out of Peoplestown, a historically Black neighborhood in Atlanta. And I want her to understand that as an elected official who is aware of the way gentrification happens in Black neighborhoods, that she has the power and the responsibility, right, to protect legacy residents and legacy communities. I do not want her to be the last African-American mayor of Atlanta, because the Black voters have been displaced. When you displace people, you are also displacing your voters. And so she is the 60th mayor. I do not want her to be the last mayor. We have brought our case before her and asked her to please reconsider taking our homes by eminent domain. We've shown her the engineering evidence that shows it's not necessary. That was available in 2013 and was ignored when they started taking down houses. And so I now live on a block that used to be 27 houses, and now there are 4. And I would go to work, I would come home, a house would be demolished. The plan is to build a park and a pond with a waterfall, lovely waterfall where my house is. And it was described as an amenity. But I've watched my neighborhood just in the past 4 years that we've been embroiled in this lawsuit, gentrified rapidly. And it's not just the complexion and the wealth of the people changing who are moving into the neighborhood. It's also that we now have streetlights that work. We now have fiber optic wire. Potholes are being fixed, sidewalks are being fixed using public resources that somehow are available now, but weren't available 9 years ago when I moved into the neighborhood, or 30 years ago when my other neighbor moved into the neighborhood, or 50 years ago when another of my neighbors moved into the neighborhood. So why are all of these public resources that come from tax dollars that we're all paying now available as the complexion of the neighborhood changes?
Everybody who's watching, I'm speaking with Tanya Washington. She's a law professor at Georgia State University, and just a really smart Black woman out of Atlanta who is in the middle of some really important battles that I think you guys should be aware of. If you haven't done it yet, please hit the thumbs up button, share button, subscribe button, put some comments in the chat. Let's have a conversation about this because I think intelligent conversations are necessary for us to kind of know how to move forward politically and otherwise. And so let me ask you this, Professor Washington. So you, so just so I can make sure I recap this properly. So you have an area that you lived in. What's the name of the community again? Give
Peoplestown.
Peoplestown.
Yeah.
And you said that through the years, there's been an effort to gentrify this area. And as the gentrification has taken place, suddenly the complexion's changing, the wealth is changing. Things are available now from the city that weren't available before. Yeah. And you've taken this issue up with not just Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, but also, just elected officials that would listen.
Yes.
And
yes.
you feel that they haven't really responded in the way that you think that they should, correct?
Right. And I don't think that they expected any resistance. We were supposed to be gone in 2016. But we stayed in the litigation long enough to discover documents that show that this was never necessary. This was a vanity project that was designed to attract a certain kind of neighborhood. So what I learned in this process, researching how these engineering projects are rolled out in other cities, is that parks and ponds attract a different demographic, right? So when you start talking about putting a park and a pond in a neighborhood, even if there is some flooding, taking a whole city block of houses and putting a park and pond there is not only going to affect those residents, but it's also going to affect who lives across the street from a park and pond. What does that do to property values? What does that do to rents in that neighborhood? Everything goes up. Certain people can't afford to live there, and certain other people are attracted to that space because you have this amenity in the middle of a residential area. So we did have, I want to be clear, there was some flooding in Peoplestown, but what the engineering showed was that you did not need to use a sledgehammer when a scalpel would do the job. The city's engineer said, we need 3 to 4 houses. The Department of Watershed's response to that was, we're taking the whole block. How is that fair? How is that equitable?
So you think that they took the whole block, or they went with the sledgehammer approach primarily because the sledgehammer allowed them to pursue a bigger agenda?
Absolutely.
That was outside of the scope of what was originally being sort of laid out there. Okay, and in a way it's interesting because it almost sounds a lot like something that the authorities or the government in Louisville, my hometown, that they were accused of that with the Breonna Taylor situation.
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, let's go and let's double enforce or overdo it on these other issues that matter because we really just want the block anyway.
Yes. And so, and I, you know, I was intrigued by the way reporters, journalists have been making the connection between gentrification and over-policing in our neighborhoods, because it's a tool. Over-policing is a tool. I mean, it has a horrible impact on us as individuals and as communities, but we also need to understand it is a tool. If you want to take property, there are certain tools you use. Over-policing is a tool, eminent domain is a tool, rising taxes is another tool, code enforcement is a tool. There's a whole arsenal of tools, and I think we need to be more familiar with them. So when we see people picking up these tools, we know that they've selected the tool for a particular job. And then we can position ourselves to protect ourselves and to resist.
Wow, you know, that's really fascinating, because I think a lot of people don't make the connection. You know, even I, you know, when I sort of, it's like, so we all know sort of what the part of the black tax is that, you know, the people that make the laws and make the decisions, they're going to enforce the law arbitrarily based on what they're really trying to do, right? Like mass incarceration, that's what that was all about. It's like, oh yeah, if I find some weed on a college campus, well, those are just kids being kids. But
right.
If you're in the hood, then you need to go to prison for 10 years, right? We know that. And so when I saw the connection with gentrification, I was like, oh, that's right. Now I get it. And actually it led me to really sort of explore that a lot, because I'm a wealth guy. I'm into the, you know, the whole like Black economic thing. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really fascinating how the law is used to enhance the wealth of others, but also how wealth, it's sort of a recursive process, right?
Yeah.
The wealth drives the politics drives the wealth, and
absolutely,
you know, they feed each other, right? And so that's to me like another level of awareness. I think that we as Black people, it leads us to need to hear from people like you, so you can break that stuff down. And so let me just go ahead and jump in as well. You sent the video. And this links back to Joe Biden, actually. Does the video include your conversation about Biden?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I want you guys to see this video. Professor Washington sent over a video clip where basically she's taken some of these issues in Atlanta to presidential candidate Joe Biden. And now the reason we talk about Biden more than we talk about Trump is because Trump isn't trying to get 80-90% of the Black vote. The politicians that you support, those are the ones who owe you. Those are the ones who are accountable to you. The ones that you don't vote for are going to see things a little bit differently. And so if you want to know why we talk about Biden more than Trump, it's because that's how politics works. If somebody gets your vote, they should give you something for your vote. We've been talking about this repeatedly, and I want to just reiterate that so that we can make sure we get that message. So let me go ahead and just, I'm going to share my screen, and let me pause this and go back. I've screwed up a little bit. So let me see if I can make this work. Forgive me, I'm stupid with technology, guys, but I'm going to do my best. Here we go.
Dear Vice President Joe Biden, my neighbor and I are writing to you today in hopes that you remember our meeting back in Spartanburg, South Carolina on February 28th. You looked me right in the eyes and promised to sit down with us and learn about our fight. We're Black mothers fighting an unlawful attempt to take our homes by eminent domain by your key surrogate Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. We have lived in our historical Black neighborhood, Peoplestown, for over 30 years and have spent the last 7 years fighting displacement.
Displacement is not just affecting the poor, it starts with the poor.
During this time, through the death of family members, health crisis, and mounting legal fees, we have staged citywide protests with members of the Black clergy, state legislators, and housing activists asking Mayor Bottoms to let us stay, and yet she failed to address this. Our fight mirrors the struggle of many Black folk across the United States who are being gentrified out of their community that they helped to build. I know you are compassionate and empathetic. The suffering you have endured over the course of your life allow you to connect with others who are suffering. On that day in Spartanburg, you said that the votes of the Black community are the key part of your path to the presidency. As Black mothers, the largest demographic facing eviction in America, we will be voting. I trust you can be a man of your word. So, Joe, please keep your promise and meet with us.
All right. So first of all, everybody watching that video, I need you guys. I'm going to do a quick call to action because we're not just here to watch things. We're actually here to participate. I'm going to put in the chat the title of that video. The title is Joe Biden, Please Keep Your Promise, a letter from Peoplestown residents. Give me a verbal confirmation in the chat. Please give me a yes in the chat if you will go to this video, watch it, and grab the link and share it. Okay, so give me a verbal confirmation in the chat if you can do this. I mean, we need people that are going to be active. If you believe what you're saying, if you think that what you're hearing here is BS, then that's a different story. But if you identify with the issue that Professor Washington has brought to us, give us a yes in the chat that you will grab that link and put it on your social media, on your Twitter, on your Instagram, or your Facebook, things like that. Is there a hashtag anybody's using, by the way?
Yes, the hashtag is Peoplestown will not go down.
Peoplestown will not go down. Peoplestown will not go down. Okay, so I'm going to share that actually. I'm going to jump in the chat and actually share that with you guys as well. But please share that video and push it around. Don't just watch it and say, oh my gosh, this is terrible. We've got to be a little more active in our participation. So Professor Washington, can you give us the context in terms of, so that everyone can follow the story? How did it get to the point where Joe Biden became involved? Because last time you and I had talked, it was yourself in this battle, against eminent domain, and you were kind of challenging the mayor's office. Well, now it's become a presidential thing. How do we get to that point, and how's that gone so far?
Well, we had done everything we possibly could do with the former mayor and the current mayor of Atlanta, with city council members, anybody who would listen. And this has been going on for 7 years. And so as we were working as a group strategically with our community members and my neighbors, we decided that we knew that our mayor was campaigning with and for President Biden and Vice President Biden. And since she was not willing to meet with us, we wanted to go and meet with the person that she was advocating for, because we've heard his platform respond to certain issues that Black people are experiencing. And we wanted him to know what his key Southern surrogate was doing in Atlanta, because I think the way people see our mayor outside of Atlanta is very different than the way the community is experiencing her in Atlanta. And we wanted to bring this to his awareness. We've heard so much about the promises that he's made to different people who are going through different things. And so, in good faith, we reached out, we went to South Carolina. We attended several of his rallies. This was right at the end of February when Representative Clyburn resurrected his campaign. And we had a chance to talk to him and ask him, what are you going to do? Are you aware of what's happening, and what are you going to do? And he made a promise. We have a video clip of the promise made to my neighbor, where he said, I will reach out to you and find out more about this issue, and if I can help you, I will. Okay. And that's what we're asking for. I know, the only thing I've been telling people, I don't care who you vote for, I need you to vote, right? Because we have a history of not having been able to vote, and out of respect for the legacy of our ancestors, we need to exercise that vote. But I would also say, when you are voting for somebody, whoever that somebody may be, make sure, as you said, Dr. Watkins, that you are getting something out of the deal. This is a transaction. This is not a gift. It's a quid pro quo. I vote for you, you address my issues, right? If you're not going to address my issues, then why am I voting for you? And so we need to be part of the platform, not just in the pictures. For both parties. If you want Black people to vote for you, then bring Black people something that responds to their issues, their concerns, their interests.
Well, and I like what you're saying. And I will say this. Maybe I haven't made this clear when I've been talking to you guys that are listening, but um, my view, I'm always trying to keep my mind open for my views to evolve when it comes to the
Mm-hmm.
voting process. And I've never told anybody not to vote. I never said that. But when people ask me like, "What are you going to do?" I'd say, I don't know. If I don't like what I see, you're not going to tell me what to do. But, I heard Professor Eddie Glaude,
Love Professor Eddie Glaude. Wow.
he's great. He's great. I've been reaching out to him. If anybody knows Eddie, tell him to reach out to me. We called the school and we can't get in touch with him, but I want to bring him in. And he had an interesting idea. He said, just everybody register, vote down the party line or whatever it is, just vote on your local elections and all this other stuff. But on the presidential election, leave it blank. Or a third party, whatever you want to do, but just let them know these are not my choices. And I kind of like that. And I talked to a couple other people about what their strategy was, and they also mentioned registering to vote and making your presence known, and then at that point doing whatever you want to do, right? But I like that because I have to stop short of walking in and saying I endorse this person if I don't endorse that person.
Right.
I mean, when I see Joe Biden, I don't see what everybody else sees, but maybe it's because I'm cursed with old age. I'm 49 and I'm not 29. So I'm still seeing Joe Biden from the 90s, from the 80s, and if you know this guy's history, it's not one of those like, oh yeah, he's really, truly an advocate for us. I haven't seen that. Right. But I do think that there can be some things that we can benefit from. And I think it just has to make sense, like this whole, like, we'll get rid of Donald Trump for you argument. Okay, that's point number one.
Yes.
Now I need to hear points 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't want to hear that's point number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of them is Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. I don't want to talk about Donald Trump no more. Like let's talk about me and you. It's between me and you. Right?
Because we were suffering as individuals and as a community before Donald Trump. Right? Yes. I mean, he comes with his own special brand of problems. But what we're talking about is systemic and structural racism and white supremacy that he did not invent. Has he capitalized on it? Perhaps. But he's a distraction, right? Because he could be gone tomorrow and these structures will still operate to grind people up, marginalize, and oppress. So we need something more than just a change of personality or change of personnel. Yeah. We need some structural changes.
Yeah, I don't want to replace a bad pimp with a better pimp. I don't want a pimp. And
how about that?
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, I really feel like Donald Trump is a wonderful asset to the Democratic Party. If I can just hold up the bad guy, like Trump, and make that the focus, and your fear of Trump the focus, then I don't actually have to be accountable for anything. Right. Yeah. So I think that they actually enjoy having him in the White House because he is bungling the job really badly. I mean, he's just doing, he's just rough around the edges. He's just not, it's hard to defend this guy. Right.
Right.
Not that I ever want to, but even the people I know that voted for him, they don't defend him, right. They, or it's limited. And so I almost feel like if I'm a Democrat, I really want to run against Trump,
Yeah, well, it is easier than saying I am going to create a sustainable change, right? It's easier to say I won't be this guy. Okay, done. Already, before you even elected, already you have accomplished that. That can't be it. We've got serious issues in our communities, and I want to know that the candidate that is courting the Black community and expecting us to stand in line for hours and hours and hours on election day is coming with something more than I'm not him.
I love it. Well, you know what, everybody, in case you just came in, I'm speaking with Professor Tanya Washington. She is a super smart Black woman. First of all, she also is a Harvard grad, which I think I personally think you should brag about that. And she's a full professor of law at Georgia State University. And I will tell you what, I'd like to throw out a resolution. We have Tanya, we have something on the platform. We call this the League of Intelligent Black People. Every now and then we do a resolution. I pull out my Vicky Miller gavel, and I like to call a meeting for the League of Intelligent Black People. So if you're listening, just let me know that you're listening. I want to throw out a resolution. I say that we nominate Professor Tanya Washington for president, right? So I'm not voting for Biden. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm going to vote for Tanya Washington.
Please don't.
Everybody in the chat.
I reject the nomination.
There's my nomination. Say aye in the chat. Tanya, I think you should. We got to figure out who your VP is going to be. I talked to Dr. Claude. We had first nominated Dr. Claude Anderson, but he said he didn't want to do it. When we did it, actually, it's really funny. Like somebody literally is going to make a movie to nominate Dr. Anderson for president.
Wow.
They called me. They said, Boyce, please tell people that not to do that. No, don't do that. So I got to find another candidate. So there we go. So you're going to be the fill-in. So everybody who supports Professor Washington, say aye. And if we can't get her on the ballot, let's at least support what she's doing. Let's look into it, research this. I shared that video with you guys, and I really hope that you'll take a second to go to that page, watch the video. Please share that video. Here's the title of the video again, or here's actually, I think this is the link to the video, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. I put the link in there. So so please share this, share, and give the hashtag again, Tanya. So
People's Town will not go down.
People's Town will not go down. People's Town will not go down. So please, as you share this great conversation with Professor Washington, I hope that you'll also support what she's doing. She's not out here trying to take something from somebody. She's just trying to protect what belongs to her and the people of People's Town. So
yes, and Dr. Watkins, I just put something else in our chat. It's a New York Times article about the Army Corps of Engineers and its use of eminent domain. This is under the current administration. They are going to different cities across the nation. And in exchange for support with infrastructure projects, they will provide resources and support for projects in cities if the cities agree to use eminent domain to displace the people who live where the projects are taking place. There was a quote in there. Other places appear to have second thoughts. Last summer, Atlanta told the Corps that the city was able to use eminent domain. According to documents obtained through a records request, the city informed the Corps in January, this is January 2020, that it was pulling out of the project. Michael Smith, a spokesman for Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, didn't respond to requests for comment. We need to share this information because this is not just happening in Atlanta. Most people don't even think eminent domain is even still possible. I hadn't heard about it for the 25 years that I've been in practice or teaching. It was just an archaic idea that you could take someone's property, but it's in the US Constitution and it's in every state constitution, but it's being used in a predatory way to take land from Black people. And God's not creating any more dirt. So if you have property, we've got heirs property out there that we are neglecting to protect, and it's being lost and traded on the courthouse steps in every city and urban area across the United States. Black people are losing their property.
Wow.
Property is part of our wealth base.
Yes, it is.
So we need to be on the lookout for things like this, where even if you're paying your taxes, even if you're paying your rent, even if you're paying your mortgage, you can be displaced.
Wow. And we owned a lot more land 100 years ago.
We owned a lot of land after Reconstruction.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Well, we got degrees though.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. We got college degrees and student loans.
Degrees that we're still paying for. That's why you don't hear me bragging about Harvard. I'm still paying that off.
Oh gosh. Well, I think you should still brag about it, but I get your point. I agree. I think that our values, it's not that our values necessarily went completely bad, but it's that we just sort of let other people drive our value system.
Yes.
I think, I mean, ownership of land and property, I mean, it's hard to argue that that's not relevant for a community. It's very important. And I think that the fact that we let all that go puts us in danger.
Yep. And there are lots of fights. I know in South Carolina, the Outer Banks and all of those, that Hilton Head property that used to be Black folks owning land on the water, which is now extremely valuable.
Wow.
They're facing displacement, and not just the displacement of the current generation, but you are depriving the future generations of the wealth.
That's right.
Of that lineage.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to give an action item for everybody watching. This is our homework. I want you to type this in the chat. Type own land, OWNLAND. Type own land. You can even use it as a hashtag. Teach that to your kids that they want to own land. Owning land is, if I had to compare, owning a land versus owning, say, a bachelor's degree, not that I'd say choose one or the other, but I don't know which one's more. I'd almost say owning land might be more.
Absolutely.
If you got enough land, then then the other stuff is kind of secondary. So I just really think that it's okay. This is not anti-bachelor's degree or whatever, but it's to say, let's go back to the basics, right? Let's own that property. Let's start these businesses. Let's reclaim our communities and stand strong. So everybody type own land in the chat. That's the big message for today. And also, I encourage you to go look up Tanya Washington and the battle that's going on in Atlanta. And I want to reiterate, I think Tanya would agree, this is not anti Keisha Lance Bottoms. So I thought about my heart kind of hit my heart a little bit when I found out that you two are both attorneys, and both she went to Georgia State and you're in the same sorority. And I said, okay, how do we address this without it becoming something more than what it needs to be, right? I like the idea of you two being on the same side. I'm sure you'd be on the same side on a lot of issues, but I think on this one, it is important to just kind of flesh it out, and I love what they have to say about it. And Atlanta, and I love Atlanta. My heart's there. My mind was in Atlanta right before you and I talked, because I just read about Killer Mike, a friend of mine who went to with the governor of Georgia, and everybody gave him a hard time about it. And I didn't have, I give Mike a hard time about some stuff, but that's one thing where I'm like, yeah, I think you should meet with everybody, like whoever's offering the best.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So so that's something to think about. So anyway, did you have any final thoughts? Anything else you wanted to share before we
Final
go?
thoughts. I just want to share the hashtag again. People's Town will not go down. If you use that, you'll see 7 years worth of pictures and videos and activism around this issue. I really like what you said, Dr. Watkins, about, the resistance doesn't have to be about people. It can be about the issues. It doesn't have to be a personal attack. If somebody has power and you're encouraging them to use it responsibly, that doesn't have anything to do with the character or integrity of the person. You just want them to use their power responsibly. And that's why we elect people to office, is to act responsibly. So I really appreciate the opportunity to share this message. As much as this is about my house, after 7 years, it has become about a broader campaign to educate other people who might face this in the future, so that they can benefit from what I've learned in this struggle. And I think it's important for us to protect the dirt that we have left in our families and in our communities. So I love that message about owning land.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Well, I want to say thank you very much, Professor Washington, for joining us. You know what? You and I was introduced to you by a mutual friend who's actually in your family, John.
One of my favorite cousins.
John is my homeboy going back over 20 years, and I just love John to death. And so you're welcome to come on anytime.
Thank you.
Yeah, you shoot me a message, and I love smart Black people coming through. Even if you disagree with me, maybe that means I'm wrong. I don't know, but
it means we're gonna have a really good conversation.
There you go, and that's what it has to be. It has to be good conversations, and I think it's just so important for us as Black people, especially in election time. I start seeing these civil wars.
Yes.
I don't like any of it. Later on today, I'm going to bring in my friend Deton Thomas, who's he's heavy Biden Democrat, and he gets so mad at me. I know from the stuff I post, because and then he put something like, beware these people that are always criticizing Biden. They might be getting compensated by the Trump administration. And I was like, hold up, man, are you accusing me of getting paid by Trump? So I said, you know what, come on the platform. I want to have you on. So Deton's going to be on drboycetv.com later on this afternoon. So make sure you go check that out in about an hour and a half from now. And I said, no, we're going to talk about this as two Black men who, and I said, I'm going to love you no matter what. And I think he's the same way. And I think that that's a good exercise for us as a community.
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to lose no friends over Trump and Biden.
No.
They ain't no friends over me.
No, we shouldn't be losing friends and family, and we should not turn over our critical lens for anybody. I don't care how much you appreciate and approve of someone. Don't stop being critical. That's what thinking people do.
That's right. There you go. I love it. I love it. All right. So everybody, before we go, put your hashtag B1 in the chat. Hashtag B1 means that we're Black first. So put that in the chat so we can reiterate where we stand. And everybody go look up. People's Town will not go down. People's Town will not go down. That's the hashtag. Look it up. Add to the conversation. Please share this video and also share that video that I shared with you earlier. I'm going to put this video in the chat again so you guys can share it. Don't just watch the interview. Just do something. You can get on social media and just share it with your friends. That would actually help the people of People's Town. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very much, Professor Washington. I appreciate your time. So good to see you again.
Stay Black.
All right, absolutely.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr Boyce TV. Here we are.